The rain had already swallowed the city by the time Evan Pierce reached the 14th floor of Redwood Financial Group. The office looked different at night. Hollow and humming, fluorescent lights reflecting off empty glass cubicles like an aquarium filled with ghosts. He was on deadline. The quarterly reports were due before morning, and if he didn't finish, he'd be out of a job. He tapped his badge against the reader. Beep! The door unlocked. Inside, the office was cold. Unnaturally so. The AC shouldn't have been running this late. The rows of cubicles stretched endlessly, each one lit in a dim, sickly blue glow from computer monitors left in sleep mode. And then he noticed something. Someone else was still here. At the far end of the office, a light was on inside a cubicle. He could hear faint keyboard clicks, a steady rhythm cutting through the hum of the ventilation. Evan frowned. He wasn't supposed to be alone tonight. He walked a few steps closer. The glow came from Marissa's desk, one of the senior analysts. That was impossible. Marissa died last year. A car accident on her commute home. Everyone had gone to her memorial. Her cubicle had been cleared out, packed into boxes. And yet, someone was sitting there. He could see the silhouette of a woman, back straight, typing fast. The sound of her nails clicking on the keys was sharp, methodical. "Hello?" Evan said, his voice barely above the air conditioner's hum. No response. He took another step. "Hey, who's still working this late?" The typing stopped. The figure didn't turn. Just silence. Then softly, the printer beside her desk whirred to life. A single sheet slid out. Evan hesitated, his stomach tightening. He reached for the paper, but before he could, the computer screen at her desk went black. The woman stood up. Evan froze. He couldn't see her face. The monitor light had cut out, and her body was just a shadow against the far window. Then she spoke. "You're not supposed to be here." Her voice was calm, firm, familiar. Evan's throat went dry. "Who are you?" She didn't answer. She walked past him, her heels clicking softly on the floor, the faint smell of burnt coffee following in her wake. The elevator doors opened with a soft ding, and she was gone. He stood there for a long moment, staring at the printer. The page she'd printed was blank, except for one line, centered perfectly in the middle. "She still works here." The next morning, Evan tried to tell his manager. "Someone was in the office last night," he said. "At Marissa's old desk." His manager blinked at him. "Her replacement, you mean?" "No, it was..." He hesitated. "It was her. Marissa. I saw her." The manager gave a small, uneasy laugh. "Marissa? That's not funny, Evan." "I'm serious." The manager sighed. "We reassigned her workstation months ago. New hire starts next week. No one's even touched that desk." Evan frowned. "Then why was the light on?" The manager's expression hardened. "That floor is badge locked at night. You're the only one logged in after 8 p.m. Evan didn't respond. That day, he walked past Marissa's cubicle. Everything was spotless. No computer, no chair, just a patch of darker carpet where her desk used to be. He told himself he'd imagined it. Lack of sleep. Stress. The mind plays tricks when it's tired. Until the next night. He wasn't planning to stay late again, but when his boss emailed him asking for one more revision, he couldn't refuse. At 11:47 p.m., he was back in the same empty office. And the light at the far end was on again. The same cubicle. The same rhythmic click. Evan's hands trembled as he stood. He called out, voice shaking, "Marissa!" The typing stopped. A pause. Then the sound of the printer again. Evan's breath came shallow. He walked down the aisle of cubicles, heart pounding in his ears. The printed page waited in the tray, face down. He turned it over. A single line again. "You shouldn't have said my name." The office phone on the nearby desk started ringing. Evan froze. Then he picked it up. "Hello?" A voice whispered on the other end. "You saw me?" He dropped the phone. It swung by its cord, clicking softly against the desk. The computer beside him flickered to life, screen lighting up with a login window. The username field was already filled in. M. Collins, Marissa's old account. The password typed itself. Evan stumbled back, tripping over a chair. The elevator dinged again, soft, inviting. He turned just in time to see her reflection in the glass. She wasn't there, but her badge was, hanging from the edge of the cubicle divider, clean, polished. He stepped closer. The name tag caught the fluorescent light just enough to glint. He picked it up. Under M. Collins, someone had etched another line in the metal. Employee ID 0423, terminated. The air went still. He turned and found security guard Dale standing behind him, flashlight in hand. "Sir?" Evan jumped. "Jesus, you scared me." Dale frowned. "You're not supposed to be here this late." I saw someone in here last night. And again, tonight, at that cubicle." Dale glanced at the desk. "That one?" "Yeah." The guard's face tightened. "Don't mess with that area." "Why?" Dale looked uneasy. "You said you saw her?" Evan nodded slowly. "Yes." Dale sighed. "You're not the first. Cameras keep glitching around this desk. But if anyone asks, you didn't see anything, all right?" Evan frowned. "What does that mean?" Dale shifted the flashlight in his hand. "Means the company doesn't like questions about what happened last year." "What happened?" Dale hesitated. "She didn't die in a car crash. They said that to make it clean." Evan's blood ran cold. "Then what?" "She found something she wasn't supposed to." The flashlight beam shook slightly. Dale turned and started toward the elevator. "Forget this floor exists. Clock out early. Don't come back tonight." The elevator doors opened. He stepped inside. Evan stood there, the silence pressing in. Then he noticed the sound again. Typing. The monitor flickered, and on the screen a document had appeared. It was a report. Employee incident. M. Collins. Internal misconduct. Status. Terminated. Termination date. April 23rd. Below it, new text appeared, one line at a time, typed by invisible hands. E. Pierce. Scheduled termination. Tonight. Evan stared, frozen. Behind him, the elevator dinged. The doors slid open again. Empty. But on the mirrored wall inside, a woman's reflection was visible, standing directly behind him. And then the elevator doors closed. The first thing I noticed about the office was how quiet it was after hours. No chatter, no phones ringing, just the steady hum of the lights overhead. A noise so faint, it almost sounded like breathing. I'd been working the night shift as a security technician for 3 weeks. The company was called Klein Analytics, a corporate data firm tucked in the far corner of the industrial park. My job was simple: monitor the camera feeds, document any motion detections, and make sure no one was sneaking around after midnight. The system was supposed to auto-shut down between 3 and 4 a.m. for data maintenance. A quirk of the software, the manager said. But by my 3rd week, I noticed something strange. The cameras never turned off. Every monitor, from the lobby to the underground storage room, stayed online, streaming grainy black and white footage of empty corridors and flickering lights. At first, I thought it was a glitch. Then I noticed movement. It was subtle, a flicker of motion in the far corner of the 3rd floor hallway. A figure, maybe. But when I zoomed in, it vanished. The feed timestamp reset itself, the seconds jumping backward 3 frames, like time itself had hiccuped. I told my supervisor, Renee, about it the next morning. She gave me this tight smile, the kind people give when they've already decided not to believe you. "Don't overthink it," she said. "That system's ancient. It records in loops sometimes. Nothing to worry about." But I did worry, because the next night the same thing happened, and this time the movement was closer. At 2:13 a.m., I caught a silhouette near the break room. Someone tall, standing just inside the doorway. They weren't moving, just watching. When I switched to another camera and then back, the figure was gone. Then I noticed something that made my stomach tighten. The timestamp on that camera wasn't from tonight. It was from last week. By night 4, I was too wired to sit still. I left the control room and started doing in-person checks, walking the halls with my flashlight and radio just to prove to myself that no one was there. The building always felt off at night. Too still, too cold. The air vents rattled in strange rhythms, and the light sensors sometimes took too long to flick on, leaving me in darkness for seconds that felt like minutes. When I reached the break room, I froze. There was a coffee mug on the counter, still steaming. Someone had been here, recently. I lifted it. It had lipstick on the rim, red. Only one woman in the office wore that color, Renee. The next morning I asked her if she'd been in the building after hours. She frowned. No. Why? I hesitated. There was a mug in the break room. Fresh coffee. Lipstick. She stared at me for a long moment. That's impossible. I was home by 8. Then quieter. Don't go looking for things you don't need to find. That night, I reviewed the archived footage from the week before, the same timestamp I'd seen on the glitching feed. The monitors flickered, static bleeding across the frames. Then I saw her, Renee, standing in the hallway. 2:13 a.m., she looked straight into the camera, directly at me, and smiled. Then she walked into the break room, out of frame. I waited for her to come back out. She never did. The next day, Renee didn't show up to work. Her office was locked. Her desk cleared. HR said she'd taken a sudden leave. No one looked surprised. No one talked about it. I told the new supervisor what I'd seen on the feed. He gave me the same strained smile. Just stick to your shift, man. You're not paid to investigate. That night, I came in early and pulled every file the system had saved from the past month. Most were corrupted. Empty static and looping timestamps. But one folder was labeled, "Do not delete." Inside there were videos, hundreds of them. Each one was a recording of me, watching the monitors, sleeping in the chair, walking the halls, every single shift since I started, documented from outside the control room, from cameras that weren't supposed to exist. Then I saw something worse, a video from last night, time-stamped 3:17 a.m. It showed me sitting in the chair, watching the screens. Then, from the reflection in the monitor, someone walked up behind me, tall, still, watching. I spun around so fast the chair nearly toppled, but the room was empty. The next few hours were a blur of panic. I went from room to room, checking every corner, every vent, every maintenance hatch. Nothing. But when I returned to the control room, all the monitors had changed. They were showing live feeds again, except this time there was someone in every one of them. A shape in the stairwell, a silhouette in the lobby, a shadow leaning against the glass doors. Every camera, every floor. Someone was there, standing perfectly still, watching. And in the corner monitor, the feed for the control room, I saw myself, frozen in my chair, eyes wide. Then behind me, in the grainy darkness, a figure leaned forward and reached toward my shoulder. A sound came from behind me, a door shutting. The police found the office empty 2 days later. They said the cameras had recorded continuously for over 96 hours, even though the system had no power. Every feed showed an empty building, except one. The control room camera, where a man sat motionless in the chair, staring at the screens. The file name read, Renee 3:17am.move.